Well, our top focus on the show today, a look at vaccines, vaccine diplomacy and vaccine equality across the world. India will be supplying made in India COVID vaccines to Pakistan through the COVAX facility, which is the global alliance for supporting vaccines across the world. Now, last year, the alliance pledged to provide free vaccines for 20% of the population of around 119 countries, which included Pakistan. It could take some more time for the logistics to be finalized, but it's expected that around 45 million doses of Covishield, which is developed by Serum Institute of India, will be sent to Pakistan from India. So what is COVAX? Now, COVID Vaccine Global Access is an initiative launched by WHO to ensure vaccine access to the world's most vulnerable, led by the World Health Organization, Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations and others. Let's just take a look at this short video which was prepared by Gavi on the importance of the equitable distribution of vaccines and why vaccine nationalism is harmful for the world. What this means for the world, COVAX and vaccine diplomacy and the sharing of vaccines with poorer countries. We're now joined by Dr. Rajinder K. Dhamija, a professor and HOD Neurology, Lady Hardinge Medical College. Also, Dr. N.K. Arora, Executive Director in CLEN and heading operations of Research Group, which is a part of the National Task Force set up by the ICMR. First to you, Dr. Dhamija, if explain to us, a lot of people are asking, India sending vaccines to Pakistan. India's been sending vaccines all over the world. Tell us about this whole COVAX effort.
Thank you, Gargi. It's always a pleasure to be on your show. The COVID-19 does not respect borders. So obviously, if the disease does not respect borders, it needs a global response to defeat it. And that is why Gavi, the COVAX and CEPI, all these have come together. In fact, the Gavi has been there since 2000. It had saved more than 700, 800 million children, immunized 700, 800 million children. So obviously, it's a big alliance of public-private partnership in association with WHO, UNICEF, the COVAX mechanism. So their purpose is to, disrupt the vaccine nationalism for the equitable distribution of vaccine across the world, so that all the countries, whether low, middle income or who cannot afford the vaccination or the vaccination campaigns, should get vaccines at equitable distribution as per the rich countries. So you were talking about the vaccine nationalism. So what is vaccine nationalism? The vaccine nationalism is a mechanism through which a country manages to secure doses of vaccines for its own citizens or residents and prioritize its own domestic markets before they are made available to the other countries who are less affording. And the major drawback of this nationalism is it puts countries with fewer resources at having less access to the vaccines. So that's very important, and this is a global collaboration, and India is standing in solidarity with the world because it's a hub of vaccine manufacturing. So it is supplying vaccine to all over the world, across the globe, through this COVAX and Gavi and the CEPI. So it's a very important day. India is having a vaccine diplomacy, which is very, very important for the foreign relations as well as for helping the globe or the world to get rid of this disease. So it is a challenge for us. So obviously we need to, distribute the vaccine in the world, and we should also ensure much needed vaccine supply to those in India who need it or who cannot afford it. So obviously it's a big thing for India, supply the vaccines to the world through Gavi and the COVAX.
Absolutely, Dr. Arora, because, and I just want to talk about this because many people raising the question that why are we sending vaccines here and there when we need it for our own people. Recently, you had the case in Italy where they actually stopped a shipment of AstraZeneca from leaving for, Australia. So, you've had these cases happening, and it's important for people to understand that all countries need to be vaccinated, and that's why we have something like COVAX in this entire initiative, isn't it, Dr. Arora?
So, I would like to declare that I'm part of the COVAX facility at the global level.
All right.
So, we'll give you a little better insight that there are broadly two categories of countries who will get vaccine from the COVAX facility. One is advanced marketing assurance. That means these are mostly who will get free vaccine from the alliance, Gavi, CEPI, and WHO. And global funders will support. The other is self-financing group, where most of the middle income and high income countries are there. The second issue is that our own requirement versus our sharing our resources with the rest of the world. So first of all, I would like to assure all my viewers that we as a country are not sharing or sending the vaccine out at the expense of our own requirements. We have sufficient supply, there is no shortage. And in addition to that, India is in fact at the moment almost 3/4 of the COVAX facility vaccines are from Serum Institute. So it's a matter of pride, and one feels very nice when you hear good words about it. And as we heard yesterday, that we are ready to ship the vaccine to any country and every country, whoever is part of the COVAX facility. And but I must again assure that there is absolutely no deficit of vaccine. And in another 4-6 weeks, 2 more vaccine manufacturers will come into the kind of market, and that will further boost up of our supplies.
Right, and so that's a very important point you're making, Dr. Arora.
Sites,
right, Dr. Arora, that's a very important point because, just to tell people that we don't have a shortage, the reason why in the first phase of vaccinations it was going slow, the numbers wasn't what we wanted, was because of other issues, because of vaccine hesitancy and the rolling out, perhaps technical glitches, etc. Now we're seeing the vaccine drive really picking up. And as you're saying, we're providing for our own public, for our own citizens. At the same time, as the vaccine hub of the world, we're being able to provide to so many countries in need.
That is exactly, and that is what I'm trying to say, that even today there are about 20,000 vaccine sites. So according to the estimates, we should be able to immunize, give first dose to around 2 million and another 2 million to those who have already received the vaccine, second dose. So the total capacity or the availability and access to the vaccine is there, but there is no full utilization. Although, as I understand, over next 2 weeks or so, the number of immunization centers will be further expanded to reach to unreached area as well as rural areas. But I would request all the viewers that please go ahead and utilize the services to the maximum possible. And it is heartening. Yesterday, we had 2 million vaccinees who received first or second dose.
Right, 20 lakh vaccines in 24 hours. That was quite something. Today, it's been around 13 lakhs. Dr. Dhamija, finally, again, coming back to the issue of, equitable distribution of vaccines. In February, the UN, in fact, had hit out and said how the rich 10 countries in the world had most of the vaccines and 130 poor countries had no vaccines at all.
Absolutely. That is why the Gavi comes into picture. It shows that the low and middle income countries, at least 92 countries I am aware of, they are part of this. And the Gavi is flying through COVAX mechanism to all these countries. And India is tried to manufacture and help out these countries to vaccinate their population. Recently, even Congo had the shipment of vaccine from India. Similarly, Pakistan and neighboring countries, we have already done it even in the early days of our own vaccination program. So, in spite of India having the largest vaccination drive in the world ever, we are able to supply and help the other countries. I think that should be the matter of pride for all of us.
Absolutely,
and the vaccine hesitancy is, of course, an issue in many countries. As per the WHO, is one of the top 10 most healthcare problems to the world in the next 10 years. So we need to, tide over that, and through the media and through your shows, we always keep on appealing for people to come forward. The vaccine is safe. I am in the committee of adverse event following immunization, which we are monitoring the vaccinating people. There's no anything which should be of concern, and it is absolutely a safe vaccine. Both the vaccines are safe and effective, and we should take pride in participating in this moment of India's largest vaccination campaign.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Dhameja and Dr. Arora, for talking about this issue and ensuring our viewers that we have enough vaccines. Don't worry, and it's a matter of pride that we're being able to provide vaccines to so many other countries and help them in this time of need. Well, let's now focus on the other topic today, and a topic that needs more attention. That is of people suffering from long COVID. This is people who may have recovered from the disease but are still feeling the after effects of the illness. The US National Health Agency is in fact studying long COVID, while a recent media report in the UK said that about 140,000 residents in London are suffering from long COVID. People suffer symptoms such as fatigue, breathlessness, brain fog for 12 weeks or more. Many lose their sense of smell. Some complain of sleeplessness as well. Well, to talk more about this issue, we're joined by Dr. Tushar Lakhia, consultant GI and laparoscopic surgeon, Apollo Hospital. Thank you so much for joining us, doctor. And you're also somebody who did suffer from long COVID. First, tell us about your experience.
Thank you very much, and I thank you for my participation here, which I will share my views. Greetings to NDTV viewers also. Now, as a patient, first I'll talk. I had a COVID in early June, late May, where I acquired it from my patient. Probably that was a period where patient was in, say, sort of a non-infective position and infected me. The story is I was admitted with fever and then sequelae of different complications for more than 25 days. I was hospitalized for that. My serial reports of blood, they were gradually increasing. There was the CT scan of chest also showed fast changes. It started from 5 of score to up to 25, and this was a really alarming situation for me and my treating consultants. So this experience, I will just give you in one word.
Right.
As a doctor, it was a solitary confinement. That is the first experience which anybody will have. Secondly, lots of things were going on, and the treatments were continuously changing from my admission to today. And the worry was mainly affection of various systems during and after COVID. So the first worry was the lung involvement. The lung involvement was avoided by the doctors, physiotherapists, inhalation, by my exercises. And the second thing was the thrombotic elements. Thrombotic elements suspected for lung, cardiac, peripheral vessels, and this storm of reaction of viral infection.
So Dr. Lakhia, because you had this severe COVID illness, do you think that's the reason why your symptoms also lingered on? If you could share, what kind of symptoms you continue to have long after you recovered?
I had weakness, one. I had a potential diabetes which was precipitated during the COVID, and I had slight breathlessness on exertion, for it continued for at least 1.5 months. So this was the main problem. But over a period of 1.5 to 3 months, I gradually recovered by taking care of exercise, pranayam, good nutrition and inhalation, which helped me to go through my lung problem. Luckily, I do not have any other thrombotic or other elements.
Right. Well, that's great to know that you've recovered. Do you feel, Dr. Lakhia, that in India, people know enough about this, the fact that there could be these symptoms that are going to linger on for weeks and weeks, and these are symptoms that need to be managed, as you're telling us how you managed your symptoms. Do you feel that more needs to be done to make people aware about this?
Now, people have to be very aware, one, as soon as they get a symptom, they have to isolate themselves from the family and wherever they are. They have to be frank enough to isolate. Once they are isolated, they should be ready to get investigated, treated, and if necessary, admitted. And then complete the treatment without hesitation and worry. Because as I said, it is a solitary confinement which makes people to run away from the hospital, but they have to stick to hospital unless doctor signals, okay, you go home. And thirdly, COVID first week is a fever, second week is a complication, and the third week is a post complication, which if you do not take care will come up. And these are cerebral, where people are having hemiplegia, pulmonary infarction, pulmonary thrombosis, deep vein thrombosis, etc. So this has to be followed up after second week onwards with long-term treatment of anticoagulants, multivitamins, nutrition, exercises, inhalations, etc.
Right. So it's very important to manage that post-COVID period as well, and people have to take care, and it can't be, normal as usual for them immediately. Thank you so much, Dr. Lakhia, for sharing your experience and speaking to us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, with that, time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we'll take a look at India's vaccination drive. Welcome back. Well, let's take a look at India's vaccination drive, and now 2.4 crore people have been vaccinated so far. So let's just bring up those numbers in our tracker here, and let's just take a look at the vaccine so far, what we're seeing. And as we said, 2.4 crore people have been vaccinated so far. In the last 24 hours, 13.5 lakh people were vaccinated, but this is not the highest. The day before that, we managed to vaccinate 20 lakh people, 2 million in a day, and we really need to increase the numbers if we're going to be vaccinating the 30 crore people that we want to vaccinate by August. Remember, that is the aim, that we vaccinate 30 crore people by August, so that we can have some sort of core number that is vaccinated. Let's just take a look at the world numbers, and again the US is in the lead in terms of how many they vaccinated so far. 92.09 million vaccinated so far. China following up there with 52.5 million. Then the European Union, India with 24.37 million being vaccinated. That's the number from the 9th of March. Well, let's just take a look at the daily tracker, and this is the number of cases and the new cases, as you can see here. Today, we reported over 17,921 cases in the last 24 hours, and that's an increase from yesterday when we reported around 15,000 cases. But as you can see, this was when India saw the peak, when we were reporting 75,000 cases in a single day. But now again, it's going up very, very slightly. So that has been a bit of a worry. If we take a look at the number of deaths, and here you can see how high the death numbers were earlier. This was in August when we were reporting 1,053 deaths in a day. But now the number of deaths is fortunately much lower. 133 deaths being reported in 24 hours, and the 7-day average is currently 103. And if we take a look at the tests being conducted, well, there you can see how the tests, these are the daily samples being tested every single day, and it's remained more or less consistent, a little lower than before, of course, but more or less consistent. So let's just take a look at the growth curve. And this is the states that are the big worry, and right now we have Maharashtra, Kerala and Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh that are the big worry, and Tamil Nadu that are the big worry when it comes to the number of cases being reported. Over 80% of the cases are being reported in these particular states. And finally on the show, 103-year-old J. Kameshwari received her first dose of the COVID vaccine, and she is the oldest woman in India. This is according to the records that is available in all hospitals. She is the oldest woman in India to receive the COVID vaccine. That's what Apollo Hospitals in Bengaluru has said. So a 103-year-old lady becomes the oldest person in India to get the COVID vaccine. Right, so hopefully an inspiration to all of you to go out there and get your vaccine now. That's all the time we have on the show today. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.